The year is 1000 AD, the end of the first millennium of the Common Era. The force of Europe now lies in the north, with France and Germany and the Holy Roman Empire. While here in Constantinople in the east, the Byzantines have survived wars with Visigoths, Persians, Avars, and Arabs, and weathered a very disheartening period in the 700s called iconoclasm, where they have smashed most of their art. But the Byzantines are on the rebound now, and by 1014 they are poised to reconquer the entire Balkan Peninsula from the Danube River all the way to Greece.
The man at the helm of the Byzantines' comeback was Basil II. A man of the people, Basil was the most brilliant military mind the Byzantines ever produced.
He was an emperor that did not sit back and enjoy the luxuries of the palace. He went out campaigning every season, leading the Byzantine armies against the foes.
He was seen to be a soldier's emperor. But there's no doubt he ranks as a highly competent, very able, very intelligent, very versatile military leader, as well as a good ruler.
Basil's greatest enemy was Tsar Samuil, who ruled Bulgaria, a Slavic kingdom vying for control of the Balkan Peninsula. In 986, a decade into his reign, Basil suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of Samuil's army.
The first time he marched north, he was only 18, I think. He might have been a bit younger. And he walked into an ambush, basically.
Humiliated, Basil swore revenge on the Bulgarian nation. That revenge would take a quarter-century to unfold. In the meantime, his defeat emboldened his Byzantine rivals. After crushing a series of revolts within his empire, Basil turned his attentions outward to restoring lost imperial lands. Determined to regain Byzantine's glory, he had ordered his engineers to design a new model of a deadly siege weapon, the trebuchet. The trebuchet's design was based on simple principles. Using ropes, operators cocked a wooden arm outfitted with a sling and stone. The front and sides of the wooden frame were covered in fresh animal skins to protect it from flaming arrows.
You'd have your axle and your pivoting sling because of the disparity between the short end on one side of the axle and the long end on the other. You'd maximize the velocity in the swing, so you could throw substantial weights considerable distances.
But Basil II did nothing by half measures. The trebuchet his engineers designed could hurl stones weighing more than 400 pounds and took a staggering force to operate, 400 men. With the world's finest troops and largest siege craft, the Byzantine army was unstoppable. And after years on the battlefield, Basil had developed a creed of ferocity and discipline among his men.
He had a reputation of being harsh but fair, and of course, if the soldiers believe in their leader, they'll fight better and more effectively.
He forbade anyone from breaking ranks and lectured them on the need for readiness at all times. His force could move with lightning speed across all types of terrain. Finally, in the year 1001, Basil decided it was time to head back to Bulgaria and clean up unfinished business.
He then turns his attention back to Bulgaria and spends the next 15 years basically solidly campaigning year on year on year, gradually destroying the Bulgars' infrastructure, ravaging the countryside, destroying the economy.
Tsar Samuil would soon realize the scope of Basil's fury.
Samuil had been the only man to beat Basil in battle, and for that distinction he would pay dearly. On July 29th in the year 1014, Basil launched a surprise attack, conquering the Bulgarian army, capturing 14,000 men. His revenge would be brutal. He blinded all of them, leaving every 100th man with one eye to lead the rest back to Bulgaria. When Samuil saw his ragged and mutilated army, he collapsed, and 2 days later he died.
It's one thing to execute all of these people. It's another thing to send them back to the country where their countrymen in some ways have to take care of all these people. So they become a kind of permanent liability to the society.
The cruel victory earned the emperor control of the Balkans and the moniker Basil the Bulgar Slayer. In 1025 AD, When Basil died, the Byzantines were at the pinnacle of their power, but the empire was left rudderless and vulnerable to struggles within.